cloud, connected to the browser. Perfect. And we're going to go ahead and all right, cool. So we're getting ready to get started here. First of all, thanks for everybody being on the call. As always, appreciate you guys coming on here, and we're getting ready to start rocking out here. Today, we're going to be, you guys are going to kind of get a little sneak peek at what I've been working on. I've had a lot of people ask me about Airbnbs. I know this is a wholesaling course. Well, it's really not. It's really a business course, but I want you guys to think about it as a real estate course, because there are going to be people that come to you that are going to want for Airbnb or short-term rental. We kind of use Airbnb as a blanket statement, but you know, it's really a short-term rental because it could be Airbnb, it could be, you know, VRBO, it could be, you know, student housing. But you need to know some of the things that we're going to be talking about so that, just like we talked about last week, you're not in the trenches of your business. You're outside looking down on your business, managing your business, and working on it. So this is going to, at the very least, give you an idea of whether or not you want to do Airbnbs or short-term rentals in the future. But this is just one section, one module out of this course that I'm putting together to help people get through the Airbnbs. And really, this is kind of like almost like this is going to help me just as much as you, because it's kind of like a test, see what you guys think about the material that's being presented. So this is just going to be one area that we're going to be talking about, which this area is module, I think it's module 3, we're going to be going over, which I've so far titled Taking the Load Off, okay? And so we're going to talk, but I want to make sure that everybody understands that through this process that we call wholesaling, through doing real estate, when we're looking at the at branching out and presenting our deals to other buyers, that we need to be aware of what type of deals we can present to them. And then not just know, okay, we have Airbnb, but actually know about how Airbnb works and everything that goes into it, right? It's just going to make you, like I said, always say, it's going to make you a better real estate professional. So let's go ahead and share this screen so you guys can see. This is sneak peek. No one has ever seen this before. No one has ever seen this before. And so we're going to get started here. Nope, that's the wrong one. Hold on, where are we at here? Where's my Safari? There we go. All right. So we're going to talk here about this Airbnb platform. This is called the Short-Term Rental Playbook. This is the course that I'm going to be coming out here with. But really, like I said, this part is just a small snippet of it's nowhere near the finished product, but I want to kind of give you guys a sneak peek behind the curtain, if you will, of what it's going to kind of entail and some of the things we're going to be talking about. So taking the load off, understanding what, understanding what this means for you as a business owner, or what this possibly could mean for your end buyer if they're trying to buy a property from you. Everybody wants to make money effortlessly, right? I think if people are honest, you ask anybody if they can make money by working really, really hard, or if they can make the same amount of money without working at all. Most people would say they would rather make the same amount of money and not have to work at all, right? So this whole module is all about different ways that you can alleviate all the extra stress of having an Airbnb, right? So understanding, you know, who our partners are that we need to employ, or your end buyer will need to employ. Obviously, they're going to need to employ Airbnb. They got started in 2008, 2 people. I don't know if you guys know this. 2 guys, they moved from New York to San Fran, and they couldn't afford their apartment. San Francisco is one of the most expensive pieces of real estate out there in the country. And they literally started Airbnb with renting a room where they had an air mattress, and that's literally where the air in Airbnb comes from. It was an air mattress that they were renting in San Francisco, a room for $80 a night. Someone paid $80 a night to go rent a room and sleep on an air mattress in their apartment. They later went ahead and that part, they really couldn't scale that. They went into when President Obama and Senator McCain were campaigning, and they literally sold Cheerios, or not, they sold cereal, I'm sorry. Obama O's and McCain something. They raised like $50,000. They just put Obama's face on it, on the Democratic cereal, and McCain's face on the Republican cereal, and raised $50,000. And that's kind of how they got a little bit of their seed money to really push Airbnb. So a couple things on why it works, right? Airbnb provides a platform that's safe and makes people want to come to it. They market, right? We talk about how we're not really in the real estate game. We're in the marketing game. Airbnb markets for you. They provide insurance. They have a whole bunch of things that they do for the actual client. Airbnb is a very, very important partner when it comes to your business, right? They make money off of charging between 6 to 12% on the guest side. So if you if you rent out a place, they're going to charge the guest 6 to 12%, and then they charge the host a 3% booking fee. They also make money off for advertising. Okay, so it's important for us to know as wholesalers, or people that are going to be presenting these deals, or people that are going to be getting Airbnb, how does Airbnb make their money, and how does it affect us in our pockets, right? What is going on here? Why can't we? Hold on. Let me just switch to this view here. This is annoying me. All right. So they advertise. They provide a safe and secure platform for both users and hosts. It handles all your basic calendar stuff, making sure your bookings are checked in and checked out, processes the booking, collects and distributes the money, and provides insurance / a guarantee. The insurance is really important because what we do, somebody's off mute, what that does, that provides us $1 million worth of protection against third-party claims, personal injury, property claims, those type of things. Okay. Hold up, someone.
Yeah, I'm gonna be taller than mom. Oh my God.
Somebody who was talking in the background is off of mute. Let me I think I found it. Okay. So it's important for us to know this on what they provide, because that 3% is, I mean, they could take 3% from me for that all day. If you're doing everything they did in this slide and in providing this insurance, is super important. The other partner that we need is our landlord, right? We're going to kind of go through this because we kind of talked about how to find landlords before. So I just want to go over my 6 tips for getting signed and a rental agreement signed. Number 1, look and feel the part. We need to have our landlord business kit ready. So in this course, what we're doing, or what I'm doing, is creating a landlord business kit. It's the same kit that I take when it's time for me to go find a property for another investor that they want to Airbnb. And it's the same thing. It's your business card. It's a pamphlet that I've created to give them all the benefits of why they need to use us over traditional rentals. And, been able to really bond with them. So employing that 5-minute focus that we did 2 weeks ago, we were talking about rapport building. Know and show what's in it for them. You're going to do that verbally, and you're also going to do that visually through the pamphlet. Obviously, being honest and be first or close to it. So being first on the scene is super important, because once that property comes up, the longer it's on the market, the more people are going to be interested in it, the less chance you're going to have the ability to get that property. Okay. When covering the standard lease agreement, do not refer to it as a contract, refer to it as an agreement. Okay. We've talked about that before. It's the words that we use can trigger an emotional feeling. We want to try to push all the cards, keep all the cards in our favor. We're going to be confident, like we talked about, right? Hit the benefits of the landlord heavy. So meaning that, some of the benefits are, and we put this on the back of the business card, that their property is going to have double the insurance because it's insured with Airbnb. We're also going to have short-term rental insurance. You really can't do renter's insurance because you're not actually living in the property. And owner's insurance is for the landlord. So there's companies, few companies, not much, that are out there that provide short-term rental, insurance. So they're going to have that short-term rental insurance, plus they're going to be protected by Airbnb up to $1 million. The place is going to be cleaned, weekly, if not probably 2-3 times a week, because every time a guest checks in and out, it has to be cleaned. That's a benefit. We're going to have a maintenance person assigned to the property. So all basic maintenance, which we're going to talk about maintenance here shortly, all basic maintenance is going to be handled. They're not going to get calls about the toilet being clogged or a loose floorboard or something like that, okay? We're going to handle all of those things. So these are some of the benefits. They're going to get paid on time, right? These are some of the benefits that are a part of our landlord pamphlet that we present to them and we verbalize to them. And we need to always make sure that we have that landlord addendum that allows us to do short-term rentals, okay? So that's what we need to have. All right, here's what you need to know when it comes to maid cleaning. So this is super, super important because the cleaners are probably your most important piece of your Airbnb project. So when I find a property for someone and I put this all together for them, I'm like, people say, well, why am I paying you all this money to go find this property, right? Why am I paying you thousands of dollars for you to find me an Airbnb? Well, it's because I do a lot of work, right? Because I do all these things for you, right? So here's what it is. So here's some essential parts of it, right? Essential part of your business because they are going to be the eyes and ears of your property. The whole point is so that you can be on vacation. Sarah can be out there in, on a vacation in Egypt, and her property is being maintained and cleaned and booked, and everything is happening as it should while she's on vacation, right? That's the whole point of this. It's not to get tied down and bogged down into this one property, right? Don't try to be a cleaning hero. Don't be that person that says, I'm going to save a little bit of money. I literally just got off the phone with a cleaning company for a property and just interviewing them, right? Just seeing how much they charge. Would I be able to get a discount if I had multiple properties, if I can provide them properties? Don't try to do this on your own, right? What you have to understand is that this part of the business is no cost to you because you charge a cleaning fee on top of your rental. So when someone rents your property, let's say it's $100 a night, you rent it for the weekend, you're going to charge, and let's say you can find a cleaning company that's going to clean your place for $90. You're going to charge an extra $110 or $120. $90 is going to go to the cleaning company. $20, $30. I'll show you what to use that for. But it's no cost to you, so don't do it. Don't try to be a cleaning hero, all right? Look for a company that can grow with you. So you kind of have to, kind of goes hand in hand with both of those bullet points. You kind of want to have to stay away from mom and pop individual cleaners. If you don't have someone who can do this, because your whole goal is to have multiple properties, right? So all your cleanings have to be done within a certain amount of time frame, right? 11 a.m. to 2:45 is when I want them out of the property. So they need to be out at 2:45 because checkout is 11. So they got to be there at 11, and the next guest is going to be checking in at 3. So we got to make sure that they're in and out of that property within this time frame. And if you have, so let's say you have 2 properties, right? To get 2 properties done, maybe they're not in the same part of town plus travel. It's going to be tough to get that done between 11 to 2:40 and be out by 2:45. So you have to think about some of these things ahead of time so that you can grow, right? All right, so how to find the right one for you. So you're going to Google local cleaning companies. It's really simple. Just go on Google, see what their local cleaning companies are. You're going to make a list of them with all phone numbers and ask what type of cleanings do they do. Do they have short-term rental experience? Cleaning company I just got off the phone with, they said they've done some Airbnbs, but it really wasn't a real Airbnb after I started talking with them. They're doing something where they only clean the place once a week, right? So it's a little bit different. So they don't have that. They don't have the infrastructure right now to be able to always clean a property between 11 and 2:45, right? So you want to interview them and ask them what type of cleanings they do, all right? After they do linen service, and if not, would they drop off linens to local cleaners? This is really ingenious, right? So think about this. So one of the big things that you have to do is turn down service, right, or linen service with your beds, right? So you take the linens off and you have to have fresh ones to go on there, okay? if you have a washer and dryer, just a normal residential washer and dryer, it is almost impossible to do all those linens and be done and put them back on there within that short amount of time frame. Wash them and dry them, right? So you have to obviously have extra stuff. What do you do with the linens that are dirty? So here's what you do. You take those linens, you buy a big linen bag, they stuff them in there, and on their way out, they throw them in their vehicle, their truck, and you find a local cleaners or a laundromat that does wash and dry service, right? Where they will wash and dry your stuff, and you pay per pound. You pay by the weight of how much stuff you bring in, right? So you find a company or you find a laundromat that's close by that your cleaning service can just drop this stuff off. And as they come to the property, they pick up the clean stuff, right? And as they leave, they drop off the old stuff. And so they constantly have this constant rotation, right? And so your maid service is not actually doing your laundry. They're just dropping stuff off and picking it up. It's all paid for by you, or really it's passed on, right? The cost is passed on. That's part of why you charge that extra $30 or so. Like I said, if they charge cleaning service charge $90, you want to charge about $30 extra, right? $25 to $30 extra, so you can factor all this other stuff in, right? But you get that done, and it's covered, right? So now that's less time that they have to worry about doing it. All they got to do is strip the beds and stuff all that stuff in there, right? And then pick it up, drop it off and pick it up, right? So if they don't do that already, you need to coordinate with a local place that does do that, right? Check to see if they have a scheduling software. That's really important. Cleaning companies, most of the major ones, commercial ones, they have cleaning software where they can kind of plug and play with Airbnb or your software, right? Your services. We're going to talk about how to schedule that stuff, but they need to have some type of software where if you get a last minute booking, they get updated. Oh, we got to clean this place tomorrow between 11 and 2:45, right? So find out their price per cleaning, and do they offer discounts for multiple cleanings per week / month. You always want to obviously try to get the best price, get the best value. Remember, the lowest price is not always the best value. So we need to make sure that we understand, right? All right, so getting the best bang for your buck. Again, we talked about lowest price is not always the best value, right? It's the rich person's viewpoints versus poor people's viewpoints, cost versus value. Get all the prices and service options with the cleaning companies you've researched. Then go back and forth, basically informing them, hey, Susie just gave me a price of 110. Matt, can you match that, or can you match that and add linen service into it, or can you beat that price, right? And you're going to get down to a point where people are offering about the same service, and you just need to pick, okay, which one is going to be the best value, okay? That's basically how you're going to do that. So inventory. So maid service should conduct a live count of what's on hand every time they clean. At the end of the month, upload the property's inventory needed list into Trello under maid service. So Trello is if you guys are not familiar, it's like think of like a virtual filing cabinet, okay? Has a whole bunch of cards. And so you can basically, let me just show you here. Let me see if I can hop on Trello real quick. All right, so here's Trello, right? So let's say you got this property 123 Main Street. Okay, this is I was creating this for this course. So you can see here in Trello, we have landlord info. So, and you're gonna see why this is important. Clean maid service, our maintenance people, our guest relations people, our door access codes, Wi-Fi codes, gate codes, standard operating procedure. Like every property will have this stuff, okay? So if you're going to use this as a wholesaling option, this is a part of why people pay you $4, $5, some people charge $10,000 to set all this stuff up, okay? So you can wholesale this stuff, or you can do these, it's not really wholesaling, you can provide this service to people who want to find Airbnbs, okay? It's why my aunt, when my aunt asked me, hey, can you find me an Airbnb? And she wants me to do it for free. I said, I can't do it for free. I get paid $4,000 to $5,000 to do this. Like it's like me giving you $4,000 or $5,000, right? It's work that's involved with this, right? So in this cleaning tab, right, you open it up and you can add in notes here, add in comments, and everybody who's attached to this will get updated that there was a note, okay? So why am I showing you this? So once we're here, so maid service, like I said, they're gonna have a live count. If they go and say, hey, we are out of toilet paper, right? And then they'll post that, and then I will get a notification that, oh snap, we're out of toilet paper. Now they really won't do this because this will be all done at the end of the month, or I'm sorry, end of the week when they do their live count. But once they do all their live count, they can put all that stuff into here, okay? And now I know for 123 Main Street, we have this shopping list that we have to update, right? So they're going to do that at the end of the month. The service will upload the properties inventory needed list into Trello, and we'll know what we have to purchase. Crap. Keep touching stuff. The maid service managers will then purchase all properties inventory needed items at one time and distribute them to the properties through the maids who actually service the properties. So you're going to have an owner of the company or a maid manager, right, who will have this information. Like I said, you're trying to remove yourself from the equation. They will then also have access to this, and at the end of the month, because you want to try to buy it, as much stuff for the month, so you don't have to do this as many times as you don't have to do this every week. So at the end of the month, you're going to say, all right, for this particular property, we need to have 48 rolls of toilet paper. We need to have 24 rolls of paper towels, and they're going to and as you use them throughout the month, things are going to deplete, right? They're going to go back and say, okay, we always want to have X amount of toilet paper on, and we're down to this. And so that shopping list or that checklist will then get uploaded into Trello, and then I just pay the manager $100 a month, or the person who owns the Airbnb will pay the manager $100 a month to go to Costco or BJ's or Sam's Club to purchase all that stuff, right? So again, it's not Susie or Sarah or Matt having to go to Costco. They're freeing up their time, and all this is covered through the money that you're making throughout the month, right? So you got someone who's going out and do that, but they have to be able to get that list, and that's done by your maid. Okay. All right, so this is what they're responsible for. Maids are responsible for getting the cleaning done, obviously between 11 a.m. and 2:45. They need to be out of there by 2:45 p.m. because most people, they're going to check in right at 3, right? This is important. This is important. Absolutely no exceptions on this. No exceptions on that. Why? Because what if you have a booking, you have a day, let's say tomorrow is open, no one has booked it yet. It is now, almost 7:30 at night, no one's booked your property, right? And you're like, in your cleaning service, like, hey, someone checked out today, but we found we were a little bit behind. Can we just push this cleaning off, right? Can we push this cleaning off? So someone checked out today at 11 o'clock, and they called you and say, hey, we're running behind. We can't do the cleaning today, or can we push the cleaning off tomorrow? And you look at your calendar and you're like, yeah, no one's booked for today. I'm cool, right? But then 7:45 comes around and you get a booking that comes through and your place isn't clean, right? So they have to understand that bookings can come in at midnight. A booking can come in at 1 o'clock in the morning, right? Someone broke down in the city and they just need a quick little. But they got to have this stuff done no matter what. They're responsible for placing out all of the things that need to go out, right? Mints, water, wine, all those things they know, the little freebies that they pay for. They don't understand, they don't know they pay for it, but they pay for all this stuff. But it makes your property special, right? Handling and dropping off linens and towels, like we talked about, checking inventory, reporting maintenance issues and uploading to Trello. And they also act as the lost and found. So anything that's lost and found, they collect that stuff. And as guests start to look for it, they are responsible for holding on to it. And then they can charge a fee, shipping plus a small fee for them dropping it off at their, the post office. Let me see, what in the world? What is all this? Anyway, let me go back to this one here. All right, so next thing we're going to be going over is guest services. So there's a couple of guest services, and what they do are basically, you guys ever check into a hotel? It's like the people that stay at the front of the hotel, right? They're the ones that check you in. They're the ones that might go back and forth with you, helping you out with the reservation, those type of people. There are services, there are companies out there. Guesty is one of them. There are services out there that provide these, this type of service to your clients. So people will, instead of, one of the big things is that you need to really set up automatic text messages. So when someone books a property, they get an automatic message, right? Again, I don't want Dex doing that. Dex is busy living his life, living out there, living lavish, right? So Dex doesn't have time for that. An automatic message needs to get sent out from whatever your guest services that you're using that goes out, right? So they're responsible for that. They're also going to be responsible for anybody who's sending you message requests. So I went to an Airbnb in Chicago and I needed to iron. I needed an ironing board and iron, which I don't know why they didn't have it, but they didn't have an iron board. And so I had to message the landlord, the owner, and the landlord didn't get back to me for like 8 hours, right? And I need this thing next day. And so Guesty or some of these other services will be the go-to, the middle person to provide that service for you. So if they need something, if a toilet's backed up, if someone needs extra towels, they're going to be the ones that handle those based off of your direction. So the more they do business with you, the more they learn what your standard operating procedures are. If a guest says, hey, can I get extra towels? They're going to know that they can have up to 2 extra towels, right? But after that, they're going to be charged because that's your policy, right? They're also going to know where to get those 2 extra towels. So I kind of show you where to keep those extra towels so they're not readily accessible, but they don't need to call and you don't need to drive in the middle of the night because they need towels, right? That's a different module. But this is what they're doing. They're acting as your guest relations, your guest services, okay? They're going to handle day-to-day tasks involved with running the business. They provide 24-hour communication. They're going to schedule the cleanings. So they're going to be in connection with your cleaning company, your maid service. They're going to respond via automatic message or live messaging and help with bookings and changings to reservations. There's times when people are going to book for 4 days, but then something comes up and then they need to leave a day early or 2 days early, right? And at the bottom, I got some services there, some Hostfully and Guesty are some of probably the best ones. Hostfully, I think, is probably a little bit better as far as pricing. They both kind of do the same thing. Hostfully is a little bit better when it comes to pricing for multiple Airbnbs. Guesty takes a percentage, I believe it's 3%. And Hostfully is a flat rate. I think they charge $400 to set up, but then there's like a flat rate between 1 to 5 properties, and if they have 5 to 10, it's another price. So you actually save money if you're actually booking, okay, with Hostfully. All right, some of the tips with guest services: set up your preferences or policies first. So you need to really have your preferences. You need to have your SOP. In this course that I'm building, I'll have a standard operating procedure. That's what SOP stands for. I have one that you could just use and adopt for your own. These are ones that work pretty well. But if you want to use your own, you need to have your own policies on when you can check in. Can you bring extra people in? When do you start charging for extras? Because you say, hey, this place sleeps 6, and next thing you know, they got 10 people there, right? So what do you do in that particular case, right? So having your policies and all that stuff set up with your, Hostfully or Guesty is important. Set up all the automatic messages. That's something you need to do. Have them text you for issues they can't handle. So you don't want them saying, hey, I got this problem, because they're acting as you. So when Susie's renting a property and Susie is thinking that she's talking to me, Tommy, but really they're talking to, Guesty or Hostfully. They're talking to someone that's a third-party company. You don't want them to ask a question and they don't know, right? And they just say, oh, I don't know, right? So for stuff like that, it'll be like Susie asks a question, guestee doesn't know, I want guestee to text me or hostfully to text me. I give me that question, and then I can respond back to them, and then they can respond as if they were me, right? And then they can also help you with bookings. So there's two schools of thought when it comes to Airbnb or short-term rentals. People can book automatically, or you can screen your bookings, right? If you book automatically, you're not going to use this. But if you screen your bookings, when someone looks, they're going to say, hey, so-and-so looked at this booking and just kind of reserved it, but they didn't check out, okay? Well, your hostfully or guestee can go back and say, man, Dex set up this booking. Let's offer him 10%. He didn't purchase yet, which means he's looking or she's looking at different properties. So let's go offer them 10% less to see if we can have them book right away. I'm going to change that right away. So this is a service that they can do for you, so you can increase your bookings, right? All right, maintenance men. All right, maintenance men or woman, right? Maintenance person. All right, they're a very important part of your program. So these are the people. Again, what you're trying to set up here is trying to figure out everybody that you're going to need to put in place, so that you or your end investor that you're doing this for does not have to be bogged down with the business, right? Because if you're doing all this stuff, you'll save money if you do this yourself for 1 or 2 properties, but your life is going to suck, right? And if you want to grow and have 10, 12 properties, then you're going to need to put these things in place. So having a maintenance person is important, right? So this is one of the benefits that you're going to provide to the landlord, right? So when we're trying to persuade this landlord and letting us do a short-term rental, one of the benefits is, hey, Mr. and Mrs. Landlord, one of the benefits that I provide, I bring my own maintenance, my own handyman. So all the little minor things that happen just from living in a property, you're not going to get bogged down with those things. We're not going to be calling you because the ice tray is, the ice machine is frozen up. I'm just going to have my maintenance guy go over there and fix it, and handle it. We're not going to call you for small minor things, a loose floorboard. We're just going to have our maintenance person go fix it, right? So it's going to save you a lot of money in the long run, right? Just think about how much it would cost for a plumber to come over there and unclog a toilet, right? Where you can just go ahead and hire a maintenance person, and you pay them on an hourly basis, 12, 15 bucks an hour for them to come out and do basic stuff, right? So here's some examples of things they'll take care of: lawn care, general labor, moving. On moving day, you're going to want to have this person set up their Wi-Fi, changing locks, replacing filters, etc. Those are things that they'll kind of take care of, okay? So in order to find these people, we're going to be placing an ad on Facebook Marketplace or Craigslist for a maintenance person. Under Craigslist, you're going to place it under gigs, right? You're not going to place it as a job, because it's not a full-time job or a part-time job at this point. It's a gig, right? And so you're going to inform that they would be involved in conducting general labor to include all the things we talked about previously in that slide. And then there's going to be an hourly pay. Sometimes it's going to be a 1-hour type of a deal. Sometimes it's going to be something where, they're going to be there for, to 8 to 10 hours, right? So whatever the case may be, they're going to get paid an hourly rate, depending on what part of the country you're in. Somewhere between $10 to $15 an hour is roughly a decent rate. And you'll be surprised how many people will sign up for that, right? To make, 12 to 10 to 15 bucks an hour, right? Having someone do this just to mow your lawn, right, is going to be cost effective in itself, right? All right, so here's some tips for finding them. Let them know that you'll be also give them a prepaid debit card, all right? So this is important. So let's just want to paint this picture. In the middle of the night, or not the middle of the night, maybe it's on a weekend and you're on vacation, or you just don't want to be bothered with it, or maybe your Airbnb property is an hour drive away from you. You have someone that they had kids there and they broke the blinds, right? And one blind is broken and is ripped off, and now people can just stay right inside the house. Well, number one, you're going to eventually charge that price over to the client, but you need to get that thing handled, and you need to get it handled now. So you have a prepaid card with $100 that you put onto it, that your maintenance person has, they can now go to Home Depot, excuse me, buy some blinds for your Airbnb property or short-term rental property, without you having to meet up with them and give them cash or cash app them or do anything like that, right? And then you just pay them their hourly rate on what it takes for them to go from the time they get notified to the time they complete the job, okay? And all this can be recorded because you're going to have, there's another module of setting up your locks, right? So electronic locks. You can see when your maintenance people come in and out the property, right? So you can tell, okay, I called him at this time, he was alerted at this time, or she was alerted at this time, and they showed up at the property at this time, and then they closed the door at this property at this time. So you know how much time it took, right? And you can pay them accordingly. So you just, instead of having to meet up with them, you pay them, you have $100 on a prepaid debit card, and you can refill that card as needed. It saves you having to meet up with them in the middle of the night, right? So you also need to show them how to use Trello so they know how to input maintenance issues, things that they've done. That's also how they're going to input how many hours they've worked to keep track of how many hours they worked so they can get paid at the end of the week or every 2 weeks, however you want to do it. And you need to make sure that maid service and maintenance are connected. Those two people and your guest services are all connected. Really, Trello was really the hub for that. That's where a lot of communication is going to take place, okay? All right, this is part of the course, so this is what they would do for homework. All right, and that's kind of what we're going to be going on as far as taking the load off. Let me go ahead and stop sharing here. Open this thing back up. So this portion of that course, like I said, is one module that goes over this stuff. It's just one of many modules that helps that individual investor or yourself run an actual business and operate a business versus operate within the business, right? So this is the value as you as a real estate professional can offer someone. So when they ask you, well, why are you charging me $4,000 for me to go find an Airbnb for you and set this thing up? Now you have just a glimpse of some of the things that go into providing that service. A lot of people think that it's just, oh, just go out there and find it, right? And, connect the two and then move out the way. You actually do quite a bit of work, but a lot of the work is done up front. So, and a lot of times, a lot of the work is done one time, right? So when you find someone, let's say here in the Atlanta market, and you find a good cleaning company, if they can scale, if they can work with you, you can keep using that cleaning company over and over again, right? As long as they can scale and get the job done. If you find a maintenance person that you trust, you don't have to keep finding new maintenance people for every single property. So a lot of times the work is done one time, but it's knowing how to set it up and doing that and being how to implement it, how to have the systems running and having it run smoothly is what you're getting paid for. It's just another tool of way to use what we've learned in wholesaling, which is finding, marketing for properties, and finding those properties, getting them under contract, and then selling that contract to someone else. We're essentially kind of doing the same thing, but we're finding landlords that want to rent the property to us, setting that expectation of what's going to happen, and then removing ourselves out of the equation. In comes our investor who wants this Airbnb property or the short-term rental property, and having them sign that agreement, and then putting all of these things together so they can run a smooth and efficient business. It's why they pay you what they pay you. So these are certain things that you might want to think about and consider if you're going to do this. It's just a different way of doing real estate, right? It's just a different way of doing real estate. I just got a text message here. How much would you charge for that? So I charge about $4,000 to do that. And it depends on how I can, how much profit, because I want to make it work for the individual, right? I don't want to shortchange myself. As you said, how much would you charge for that a month? I don't charge for that on a month. It's one time, and I set everything up. I get everything going for the individual, and then I put all the systems and services in place, and then I'm out of the picture. Then it's up to them to run it, right? So that's how that works. is the PowerPoint presentation in the E2E course, or is this a separate course? No, this is a separate course. This is going to be a separate Airbnb course. But this is again, this is just one module, just one, like a small little glimpse of what you do and what you're responsible for if you're going to either do it for yourself or if you're going to provide a service for someone else. So any questions? Anybody got any questions on this? Let's I guess first start off with questions on this. Primarily, hold on, computer's about to. Any questions on this first, and then we can move on to questions if anybody has any questions on wholesaling or other real estate matters. You can take yourself off mute or put it in the chat.
Hey, I have a question, Tommy. So if I am doing this for the client, do I have to look for people to rent, like the Airbnb? Do I have to look for clients to do that? Or if I'm setting it up, me doing this service for the client?
Hold on, do you have, I just want to make sure I understand it. Do you have to look for an everyday person that's going to?
Yeah.
No, Airbnb does that for you. That's why.
Okay.
So in that section called taking the load off, it's all about partnerships, right?
Okay.
All about who do you need to run in a business effectively. So you need Airbnb, you need your landlords, you need your maid service, you need your maintenance person, right? You need guest services, right? Those are really the 5 main components of partnership that you need in order to run your business effectively. So Airbnb, that's why I went over Airbnb, the first one. Airbnb is crucial because their biggest thing that they do, or VRBO, HomeAway, all these other ones, right? Their biggest thing that they do is they market for you because everybody knows Airbnb. Even when you don't do Airbnb, even when you're doing a short-term rental, people know Airbnb. You say Airbnb, it's just synonymous with short-term rental, right? So that's what they do. That's really the 3% that you pay for them. That's probably 2% of that 3% is because there's that. That's what the other 1% is probably the insurance that you rent. As far as I'm concerned, right? As far as I'm concerned, I gladly would pay that 3% for the amount of marketing that they do and the insurance that they pay or they cover.
Thank you.
Yep, no problem.
Thank you.
All right. I got you, Dex.
Hey, Coach, I wanted to ask you how long it takes to get something like that up and going, a month or 2 months?
Well, once you know everything to do, you literally can. I mean, you shouldn't take any longer than a month to find, because it's what I like about this is that it's so much easier than wholesaling, right? To find a wholesale deal, you got to find people who are not even looking to be found. You see what I'm saying?
Gotcha.
Yeah. You can go on Zillow right now and find somebody who wants to rent their property. You just got to know what to look for to determine whether or not that's a smart property to rent or not, right? Because if you're doing it for yourself, let's just say you're doing it for Dex Industries, right? And you're going to be the next Airbnb mogul in the Atlanta area, right?
Mm-hmm.
You need to know that, okay, if this rent is $1,500 a month, what do I need to make? What's my projected profit? So that's a whole nother section of this course of being able to, efficiently and what's the word I'm looking for? Not really efficiently, but know how to make a smart business decision on whether or not this particular property that you're looking at right now is going to work in this particular area. And is it going to be able to yield? Am I going to get enough rentals, to cover my rent? Because you're responsible for that rent and utilities every single month, whether or not you got one person who rents or whether or not you have 100 people that rent, right?
Okay.
So you gotta have, or rather, really, I should say, whether it's 0 days rented or 31 days rented, you have to be able to cover that, right? So you don't want to put yourself in a position where, like, people will call me and say, hey, I got this property where, to Airbnb. Like, where is it at? It's like out in the boonies somewhere. Like, well, that's going to be really tough. Not some people, it's a small market, right? So you just got to be able to, if you can find someone today, you can just hop on, you can literally find someone today and and find a property, right? Boss it, but it also might take you a month. But really, this shouldn't take you any longer than a month. Like if you're diligent with it, it really shouldn't take you any longer than a month to find, right? To find the property.
Now, is that 4,000 up front?
Yeah.
Up
Yep.
front? Okay.
Yep.
Okay. All
Yep.
right. Okay.
Yeah, no problem, man. Mute, brother. Nebo said, what are the names of the other services like Airbnb, VRBO, Home Away? There is something short, something rentals. And there's another one, man, that does more long. They're short-term rentals, but they're longer. Dang. I forgot the name of the other ones. But they do like, and then you can just go with, and get in contact with insurance companies as well. So insurance companies, people have fires in their house, and they need to put a family in your property for 3 months, right, while their house is being redone. So hooking up with people like that, insurance agents, those type of things, they'll be able to help you out as well. Colleges, go to your local, like there's one guy that has that, the guy he was, I think if you guys were on this call a while ago when we had that guy who manages Airbnbs. He said Georgia, I don't know if he said that on the call, if that was on the one-on-one conversation me and him were having. But there's a guy that rents to students, foreign exchange students out of Georgia Tech. He's making a killing, right? It's a little bit different than Airbnb. It's actually, in my opinion, better because they charge by the bed. You charge anywhere between $150 to $200 per week per bed. So you have 3 bedrooms and you put two bunk beds in there. Believe it or not, if you go over, so if everybody's been overseas and been to a hostel and rented a hostel or something like that, you'll know that you'll go overseas in Europe or something like that, and you'll rent a hostel where you're just literally renting a bed for the night, and you'll be in a room with 2, 3, 4, sometimes 6 bunk beds, all full, right? So it's something that we're not really used to over here in the States, but overseas, a lot of overseas students, they're used to that. So they'll come over here and they'll spend $150 a week on a bed, and you put 2 bunk beds in there, and that's $600 per room, right, per week, right? And so there's a guy that's in closer down to Georgia Tech that's what he does. He's a 3-bedroom townhouse or 3-bedroom home, and he's got 2 bunk beds, which each bunk bed has 2 beds in it per room, charging $150 a piece, $600 per week per room. You do the math; it's $1,800 per week, right, off of one property. 1,800 times 4, or whatever that is, that's how much he makes per month off that one property. So it's a lot better than obviously straight rental. It blows it out the water because that same house might only rent for $1,500 to $1,400 a month. Excuse me. And he's making close to $6,000 a month. No, he's making more than $6,000 a month, right? So, it's and you're not having to pay for like the constant cleaning and all those other things, So it's just different services, man, that you can use to do this short-term rental game. The short-term rental thing is powerful, very powerful. Any other questions?
When is your course coming out?
September. Trying to shoot. I have a little more filming to do. We're trying to shoot for September, like the beginning of September 2nd, somewhere around there.
You got a price for it yet?
Not exactly, but it's going to be a one-time fee. I'm not doing the monthly thing. Not exactly. It's going to be, I don't know, somewhere between $297 to $497, somewhere in that range. But it's going to have a lot of extra stuff. So all the things that the checklist, a lot of people, they overpurchase on furniture. Where to find the furniture, real life examples, real price tags, where to go to them. You should never spend any more than $3,000 unless you have like a very high-end luxury place. You should never spend more than $3,000 to furnish your entire place. Like I'm talking about TVs, I'm talking about everything, couches, beds, right? If you spend more than $3,000, then you've overspent. So most of the time, a lot of people can get into an Airbnb. I've seen one guy who's every one of his properties, he spends $12,000 to $15,000 on furnishing. I was like, you're stupid. Like, that's ridiculous. But you know, maybe he just doesn't know. I don't know. But you know, you definitely do not need to spend that much. There's a lot of mistakes that people make that will, I think, once you get the information, you're like, man, this saves you a lot more money than than what you'll spend for sure.
You better buy your course.
What's that? Yeah, he definitely needs to, because he tripping. He's tripping. Spending $15,000. That's crazy. That's crazy. Like that. Like, I can understand if you have like a really, really high end property, you got to do. I mean, you might have to spend a good amount of money, but not for no $200 to $250 a night or less. I ain't spending no $15,000. That's ridiculous. Cool, man. Anybody else have any questions?
Yeah, how you go about getting multiple properties? Are you able to get multiple properties in your name at the same time?
Yeah. So it's literally just. So this is how this process works. You kind of trying to give you like a brief synopsis, so without spending the next 2 hours showing you how to find properties, because that's. But what you do is you narrow down an area. You'll do market research using Airbnb, or if you want to pay for services like AirDNA, it's a lot quicker. You can pay for a service like AirDNA, so you know what an area will yield, right? So you can either do that free by using Airbnb and just knowing how to do it, or use AirDNA. Once you know your area, then you just literally hook up with, either use Zillow, you hook up with a real estate agent, you go to Rently, like you can find properties through there. You can drive for rentals, right? Drive for landlords, however you want to call it. So a lot of different ways of finding those properties. But once you find them, it's literally, if you're doing it for yourself, I'm assuming, right? I think that's what you're asking me. Like, if you want to have it, it's just.
No, I'm asking, like, if I want to get more, like you said, we can get multiple properties. So each property I have to put in, because sometimes they say you got to wait till your lease is up on one property to get another property.
No.
So I wonder how does that work to get them all at the same time.
No, so this is why, like in this course, I'm like, and during this process, it's everything that's involved, right? So there's an addendum that you're going to be upfront with and honest with that landlord. So you're the landlord, and I come to you and I tell you straight up, this is what I do. This is my business, right? You have your standard rental agreement that you like to use. I say, okay, cool. But we're also going to add this addendum that allows me to do this business, right? And you say yes. Now, not everybody's going to say yes, right? Maybe I had to call Leroy, I had to call Sarah, I had to call Carla, I had to call Mel, I had to call Duke, I had to call Mike, and then I finally got to you. All those other people said no, but I finally got to you, and you said yes. See what I'm saying? You said yes, so you agreed with my addendum. So you've said that you're okay with me renting this property because you know that this is for business purposes. So then I just repeat that process. I go back and I look. I've identified my neighborhood, and I call Rich, I call Winnie, I call Aisha, I call Tasha, and finally I hook up with Felicia, and Felicia says yes. Well, Felicia says yes because she saw the same exact addendum. She knows that I'm doing this as a business. She knows that I'm not planning on living in the property. I'm using this for business purposes, right? So you're agreeing to it contractually through your landlord agreement and the addendum. Does that make sense?
Also, so I wouldn't try to sign no kind of lease contract. Just tell them what I'm doing and make sign an agreement of what I'm trying to do.
You are signing an agreement, a lease agreement, but you also are providing an addendum. So do you know what? So an addendum is like an extra. It's like another piece of paperwork that goes with the contract. It's like here's your contract. Oh yeah, but this also. Don't forget about this part. It's like another piece of paper that spells out exactly what you do and what you're going to provide, and that the landlord is aware of it and they're allowing you to do it. You see what I'm saying? So that's how you do that. And also, it's also the type of people that you approach. You're not going to go to, most of the time, you're not going to go to a, like an apartment complex and do this, right? You're not going to go to a place where they have 100 units, you know, and, you know, they have a community swimming pool. Like, they're not going to let you to do this anyway. You're really looking for the ideal type of landlord, which I talk about, which are people who have single family homes or townhomes without HOA or with lax HOA rules. Those are the type of properties you're looking for.
How you know if they don't have HOA? You just have to ask.
You ask, yeah, yep. You ask, and you can look up online. Most places that have HOA, they have, they'll have who the homeowners association is.
So when you get houses and stuff, they don't run your credit.
They might run your credit. It depends on the landlord, right?
So that's what I'm saying. So if one property run my credit, then I have to find somebody else that won't run my credit.
Well, there's certain landlords that are not going to care, right?
Right.
There's certain landlords. So I'll give you a trick. I'll give you a good trick. So what you do is you go to a real estate agent, or you look for properties that have been on the market greater than 30 days. So I'll give you a little secret here, right? Because if it's a good property and it's for rent, especially during moving season, like in the summertime, it's going to rent quickly, right? So if it's been on the market for a long period of time, there's people that have come to see that property and said, nah, I don't want to rent here, right? So those are people that you can bargain with. And those are probably people that are not going to care as much, because the longer that property goes vacant, the more money is coming out of that landlord's pocket, right? So again, it's just like anything else. It's just like wholesaling, but it's a little bit easier. But you don't call the first person. Most of the time, you don't call the first person on your list and they say, yes, I want to sell my property and I want to sell it for a good price. You're going to have to go through multiple people, right? But it's, in my opinion, in my experience, it's been easier to do this because they want to be found. These people want you to call them, right? Their number, you don't have to skip trace them. Their number is there, right? So it's a little bit easier to find them. Does that answer your question? Okay, hopefully it did. So someone asked, when he said that price works, yeah, it's definitely a good price. There's a lot of these courses that are going for, over, $1,000 or more. Actually, I know one person's course is $2,000. Is your price contingent upon the size of the house rental, or is that the price no matter what size the setup in any Airbnb? The price is not contingent upon the size of the house. My price will be flexible dependent upon the value I can provide for them. So I want repeat business, right? I'm in the game of having repeat business, okay? I want people that come to me consistently over and over and over and over, right? So if a deal, let's say there's a deal that works, because again, I do everything off of return on investment, ROI, right? ROI. For someone who's looking to do this, they're looking at, should I buy my own property and just do a straight rental? Should I buy my own property and do an Airbnb, or should I just rent this thing out and do an Airbnb, right? Or a short-term rental, right? So you need to be competitive with your rate of return. So your rate of return on your investment is based off of how much it costs to get in the property versus how much it makes on an annual basis, right? So if I find a property that has a slim or smaller ROI, I will be willing to take less, right? I'll be willing to take less so the ROI is greater, so I can provide a better benefit for my end buyer so that they can make money and then hopefully do business with me in the future. And then I can find a better property for them, right? Or another property for them. So instead of me worrying about, I need to be greedy and try to make as much money every single time, I'm more concerned with, am I providing the best type of value to my end buyer or my end client? So that's how I do that. So because whether or not it's a 3-bedroom or a 2-bedroom, it doesn't matter to me because I'm not the one buying the furniture, right? That's going to be on the end buyer. But if I find something that kind of works, but it's not the best deal, so if I shaved off $1,000 off of my fee, it becomes a lot better deal, then I'll do that. do you know if property management companies open to this, or are we focused on self-managing landlords? So you don't want your landlord involved with this process. There are companies, like I said, we had the guy come on a couple of weeks ago. Steve, he does Airbnb or specifically short-term rental management. You just can't go to any property management company and say, hey, I want you to manage my short-term rental, because it's a different game, right? It's a lot more active. A lot of times, matter of fact, literally, I just sold a property that I never saw. I never met the person. I never met with the buyer. I never went to the closing. I never met any of these people. We had a closing last week. Never met them, right? And the property management company has been managing that property since 1990. I think it was 1998, right? They haven't been to that property in years because the tenants are great tenants. They fix their own stuff. They plunge their own toilets. They don't call them for stupid stuff, but they get paid every single month, right? So these normal property management companies, they're hoping that they find people where they don't have to go out there every single month, right? Where a short-term rental property manager, if you're going to hire one, which if you do this the way I show you in the course, you don't need to hire a short-term property manager. But if you want to just do that, a short-term property manager is going to take about 15% for short-term rentals. Okay? So that's money that's coming directly out of your pocket, and they're just going to set all this stuff up for you, right? They're going to set all this stuff up for you, or they might be their guest relations persons, but that's not really scalable, right? If you want to end up having 20, 30 Airbnbs pulling $2,000 extra a month off of the course of 20 Airbnbs, if that's your goal, you can't have a short-term property manager like that's in the business. You got to have like companies that are in your business, because it's just not scalable. One person can't run around and do that. It's just too many moving pieces. You got to have like organizations that are in place. So yeah, all right. Hopefully, Carla says she loves other streams of income. Yeah, I do too. Carla. Yeah, this next coming year, I want you guys, like, again, I've said this time and time again, this is not a wholesaling course. This is a business course. Just wholesaling is just a tool that we use. Just one tool that we have in our tool belt that we use. If you take anything away from this, is that you guys always need to be on the lookout for business ideas, right? There's somebody that came up with Hostfully and Guesty, right? And I go and I do like a little deep dive on how those services work. But once you understand what those services are, there's someone that came up with that idea, and they're $1 million company, a multi-million-dollar company, right? All they did was said, okay, here's a problem, and they fixed the problem. So what I want you guys to take away from this is that this wholesaling business, this whole thing is about solving problems, right? Is identifying and solving problems. So we want to just keep our eyes out, because within your wholesaling business, you come across problems, right? And there's ways of solving those, and you just got to put those two things together, you know? All right, so I think no one else has any questions. Any other questions, you can just take yourself off mute and ask, or throw them in the chat. If not, we're going to end it up. Oh, I see it. Oh, man, right here. There you go. Let me lower your hand there. All right. Go ahead on, Dre. What's up, man?
Hey, what's up, brother? Hey, I don't know if you remember, but me and you talked about a deal a couple of, I think it was last week actually, about probably a hotel subject to.
Okay. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Briefly. What's the? I don't remember the specifics on it. You want to go over it?
Yeah. Pretty much. I have this paraplegic veteran who needs to sell his house. When we discussed it, we said the best strategy would be to subject to it, because it's not enough equity for it to be a full wholesale.
Okay.
So now circumstances have pretty much changed. This guy, he he has two properties, both under VA loans. He's trying to get a third one. So he desperately needs to sell the one that I have under contract now, and another one that's closer to Actually, the original property that I hit him up about. So he's trying to sell 2 properties, but he needs to offload this first one like immediately. So
Okay.
I don't think a subject to would work because that loan obviously would have to stay open.
It depends on the type of subject too, right?
Mhm.
So it's going to depend on the type of subject too. What are the numbers again on it?
The numbers he owes 232. ARV was about 325 to 315.
What's the repairs on it?
I estimated about 10 grand or less.
Well, let me do this here. So now we got too many numbers. So you said ARV is three what?
Between 325 and 315.
Let's just say on the low side 315.
Mm-hmm.
And he owes
232.
okay 232. Okay, and repairs are
No more than 10 grand.
okay. So we got repairs of 10. Okay, and what does he own? Is he behind on his mortgage?
Nope, he's current as of the end of June. I just had a verification of mortgage sent from the lender.
So why does he need to sell immediately?
Because it's a VA loan. He's trying to get another house.
So he's trying to get another house, so he has to get rid of this house before he can get the other house.
Correct.
Okay, so he doesn't necessarily. So number one, I don't know why he's selling it, but he doesn't necessarily need. It doesn't necessarily need to be a long process, right?
Mm-hmm.
What's his time frame? How fast does he need to sell it?
Well, he's been hitting me up for. I've had it under contract since I want to say July 5th, and it ends August 5th. But he keeps hitting me up for the past week. He's hit me about 5 times saying he really needs to sell his property. So
Because
he didn't really give. He didn't give me a drop dead date, but
does he need any money out of this? Like, does he need any money on top of this?
no.
All right, so he just wants to walk away and not have to pay the mortgage. So $0 in his pocket.
Correct.
And what's your fee on it?
At first I was doing 20 before he told me that he actually needed to get rid of it. He said he was happy doing the subject to, but now that that's off the table, I'm willing to take as low as 5.
Okay.
Just to move on. Plus, like I said, he has the other house that he wants to get rid of as well. So I don't mind taking less on this one.
All right. So really what someone needs to bring to the table in order to make this deal happen, let me just do some quick math here. They're gonna need to bring, you're gonna have, he would deed the property, right? Which is, I mean, you can do this yourself. I don't know if you noticed, but you deed the property, and then you can go ahead. The only person that's going to have to wait on their money is mortgage company, right? For this 222. So you deed, let's say you decide to do this. Let's say you don't do your $5,000, right? You decide you want to do it. So you're gonna need, so you deed the property, so you're gonna need closing costs for that 232, right? So let's say that's like $69.60 for the closing costs, right? And then $10,000 to repair the property to get it to this 315, right? So at that point, you're in it for almost 17,000 that came out of your pocket immediately up front. But now you can go ahead and put it on the MLS for 315. You can go ahead and sell it on the open market for $315,000, right? So when you do that 315, you get that, let's say minus your 6% for real estate costs plus another 3% for closing costs. That's a total of 9%. So that's $28,350. So that brings it down to in your pocket brings it down to $286,650. You got to pay off that 232. So I don't know if you see that. That's how much money you would make, $54,650. Now you also got to pay yourself back your basically $17,000. Just call it rounded up. That you spent into the property. That would be your profit, $37,650. So you you spent 17, but you made 37,650. You pretty much, yeah, you did triple your money or double your money at least. You spent 17 and you made 37,650.
Okay. Now, if I don't have the 17, 18 to put down, like how would I market this deal?
Where's the deal at?
This is right outside of Washington, D.C. It's in Maryland, PG County.
Send me the details. I got somebody who has $200,000 they want me to spend.
Okay.
They can they might be interested in it.
You want me to send it to your email?
Yeah.
Got it. We'll do.
All right. Stop sharing that. But this is why we cover these things. This is why we go over subject 2, right? This is why we do Airbnb. This is why we cover long-term rentals, right? This is why we cover fix and flips. This is why we cover 1031 exchanges. This is why we cover HELOCs and how to, velocity banking. Like all these things where by themselves is like, well, I didn't come to learn subject 2. I didn't come to learn Airbnb. I didn't come to learn this, right? But the more stuff you know, the more exit strategies you have, so you can move properties that other wholesalers are not going to be able to move. Or one day you'll have, 17, 20, $50,000, $100,000 sitting in an account. Well, you'll be able to do this stuff. Once I get a couple things going on, finishing up here personally, I'm selling a lot of my single family residence homes, and we'll be purchasing hopefully somewhere between an 8 and 10 unit apartment complex, right? Why? Not to do long-term rentals, but basically turn that into an Airbnb hotel. So you'll be able to do those things because you learn how to implement these processes, right? So instead of renting out one unit, now I have an eight unit apartment complex that is all Airbnb'd, right? It's just understanding different ways to do real estate is you have to do that. If you're going to be a real estate professional, if you're just going to be a wholesaler, cool. Just focus on wholesaling, forget this whole lesson. But if you want to be a real estate professional, if you want to have money coming in from different points where it's like, man, I'm getting paid from this, I'm getting paid from that, I'm getting paid from here. I can't keep up with where I'm getting paid from. If that's the lifestyle you want to have, and you want to be able to do that without having to clean every single property and without having to constantly go out there and find new Airbnb. Like I literally just, like I told you, listen, I'm not making this story up. I closed this on a property. I closed on a property that I never saw. I never met the buyer. All I did was send out a contract. I never went to the closing. The check came to me in the mail. Like I didn't do anything besides send out contracts. And I did that while on vacation, right? So it's like, if you want to have that type of stuff, you gotta start understanding more than just wholesaling and how to run a business versus just be a wholesaler, right? Let me see, anything else? I'm trying to go through these. Thank you. I appreciate that comment, Carla. She said that's gangster. All right. I think
I have a question.
Yes.
I'm sorry, Tommy, I have a question. I was just waiting to see if you're reading somebody else's question. A question on ARV. Okay. I understand how to do the equation, but just the thought process. When you say 70% of whatever the ARV is, and then you scale down from there, are you saying basically like whoever is going to buy that property, let's say in the example you gave, the ARV was $100,000, and then you said multiply 100 by 0.7%. So in essence, the buyer of that property would only be offering gross $70,000 for that property? Is that the idea?
No, I'll show you.
I mean, I'm not thinking, I know there's repairs and all of that has to come into play, but I'm just thinking, just the thought process.
Yeah, real quick right here. Here we have our house that we just fixed, right? Now it's a beautiful house, right? And like you said, the house is now $100,000, right? We fixed it up, we put new windows, new flooring, new paint, right? So the ARV of this thing is $100,000, right? That's how much, a family is going to pay for this property. Now, if as the end buyer, as the person who's doing the fix and flipping, would it make sense for me to buy this house and buy it at, let's say, $70,000, but have to put $30,000 into it to get it to a $100,000 house. It wouldn't make sense, right? Because 70 plus 30 is 100,000, right? Basically, I'm spending $100,000 to make $100,000, right? Doesn't make sense. So we need to create a profit margin. We need to create a buffer here. And in this buffer is a 30% buffer, right? And this is going to be market specific. I was about to say Pacific. Pacific, that's the public school. It's market specific, right? So certain parts of the country, 22% is good. 24% is good. Like in Miami, like some of the hotter markets, right? They might need a smaller profit margin for them to still buy it. But most places, if you provide a 30% buffer, a 30% profit margin, it works. So in this particular case, if we know at the top of the market we can sell it for 100 and we need to create 30% profit margin, that means this right here is what? 70,000, right? So they need to be all in at $70,000 to have a 30% profit margin, which in this particular case, just because it's $100,000, 30% of $100,000 is $30,000, right? So this is where they want to be all in at, right? I'm just going to put AI, right? All in at 70,000, which means we still need to figure out how much it's going to cost for repairs. So if repairs are going to be 30,000, if repairs are $30,000, well, I can't buy this thing at 70,000 and then spend 30,000 on it. So I need to subtract it. So if I want to be all in at 70 and I have to spend 30,000 on repairs, then I need to get, if you're the end buyer, if there's no wholesaler involved, then you need to get it at what? 40,000, right? So I need to purchase this thing at $40,000. If there's no wholesaler involved, if Susie is going to purchase this property and fix it herself and flip it, I need to purchase it at 40,000 because I'm gonna put $30,000 worth of work into it to take me to my all-in price of 70. Then I can sell it for 100 and make a $30,000 gross profit. Does that make sense? But now, if Susie is now, let's scratch that, X that out, Susie is now the wholesaler, Susie needs to also create her profit margin, right? So Susie says, well, shoot, I need to sell it at 40. So that means, and I want to make $10,000, I need to get this property under contract for $30,000, which is my MAO, maximum allowable offer, in order to make, what's the difference? The difference between here is what? 10,000, right? So if Susie is now the wholesaler, she gets it under contract for 30,000 and now sells it to me, the fix and flipper, for 40,000, and she collects this $10,000 profit as the wholesaler and puts it into her pocket, right? And then everything else is the same from there, right? So what we're doing when we find out our ARV, it doesn't matter if it's 100,000, doesn't matter if it's 200,000, or if it's $1 million, we're going to take out whatever the market specific percentage is to create that buffer, to create that profit margin for our end buyer, or for you if you're going to buy it. Does that make sense?
Thank you.
Cool. All right.
Got one quick question.
Okay.
When you was talking about getting the house deeded over to you while doing that subject to thing, how you do that?
Yeah. So it's essentially, so that you have to understand there is the deed and the mortgage. So unlike a car where your title is attached directly to the financing and you're typically your financing company, if you finance a car from Ford, Ford holds the title, right? And then once you pay the car off, then they send you the title, right?
Mm-hmm.
In houses, the deed is separate from the mortgage company. The mortgage is an actual instrument that says that places a lien against the property. Okay, so once you understand that those things are separate, unlike a car where the company holds the title, the deed is in that individual's name. So I can deed my property over to Mike, but have the mortgage still in my name, which means I'm still responsible for a property that I no longer own anymore. Does that make sense?
I got you.
So once you understand that that's how houses work, I can deed my house to you, still be contractually responsible for the mortgage, but now that you have the deed, you have the legal right to sell the property.
I got okay.
The only thing now is that once, let's say Mike sells that property to Ramona, when Ramona's closing attorney does a title search on it, they're going to say, hold up, there's a lien still on this property, and that lien is a mortgage with, Chase Bank. That lien has to get paid off. How much are we selling this property for? Oh, $315,000. How much is on the mortgage? $232,000. Okay, well, we need to, once that lien is satisfied, then we can release this property to, Ramona. Does that make sense?
I got exactly what you're saying. All of that will get handled by the attorney at closing.
Correct.
Okay.
But you have to get the property deeded over to you if you're going to use that subject to strategy like I just showed.
Okay. Cool. Thank you.
Yep, no problem, man. All right, I'm gonna do one more. I see, Sherry, this is private, so I don't know if you meant to do it as a private one. You meant to do it private, okay. Okay. To join, what I don't know how to answer this without answering it in public. So let me see. All right. Anybody else have any other questions as pertain to real estate? I want to try to answer Sherry's question. Anything? Nothing? All right. All right. Well, I'm going to end this here. You guys can talk. I'm going to leave it live so I can text back and forth with Sherry real quick. We're going to stop the recording here. Once again, as always, man, I love you guys. Appreciate you guys rocking out. Appreciate you being here. And you guys have a blessed one. Peace.